All right, so now you have a sense of what an academic means when they talk about creating an argument, and now we want you to do it. We want you to have that fun. I'm going to tell you the four characteristics of an argument, what makes an argument powerful. But the first, very, very first thing that's even comes before that is figuring out what your argument is. So the very first step in creating a powerful argument, I almost call it step zero, so to speak, is figuring out what your position is. What do you think is the most valid opinion to hold around this issue, and why do you think that's important? So you're going to have to explore the issue a little bit. You're going to have to get into the evidence and the debate, hear what other people think, and then ultimately come to your position. Okay, so that's sort of step zero. What is my position? Okay, now once you have that position, let's go through the four attributes. Number one, make sure your writing is very clear. What is it you're arguing? What is your position? That should be clear right from the very first paragraph, if not the first sentence of the first paragraph. The person should know right off the bat, okay, this is what you believe to be true. And then they should be automatically going to that next question, but why? Okay, which brings us to point two, compelling. You want to talk about any evidence you have to support your position. Why is it rational to believe what you believe? And so talk about anything you have, data, logic. If it's data, make sure it comes from reliable sources, right? Anything you argue is only as strong as the source is reliable. So if it's a strong, reliable source, then your point carries a lot of weight. So make sure is that. Also consider counter arguments. If you see that there's an obvious counter argument to what you're talking about, and you can imagine the reader thinking, yeah, but what about X? Maybe have a paragraph that says, one potential counter argument is X, and here's why I'm not very swayed by X. Okay, so that's your sort of why section. You start with what you're arguing, and then you really lay out why you believe what you believe. Okay, now the next two are connected to how you do that. First one is efficient. Try to do that as efficiently as you can. Try not to repeat yourself too much. Try to have a sort of building of your argument, as it were, but try to make your argument as, it's almost the fewer words you can use to say something powerful, the more powerful it is. So you want to try to create and craft that most efficient argument you can, which leads us to the fourth point, which is structure. Often to get an efficient argument, you need to build up things well. So you need to start with a clear introduction and then start giving the evidence in a very structured way that anticipates these counter arguments. And then at the end of all that, you want to wrap it all up in some way that really reminds the reader of what your position is and why it is, as good as you think it is. So those are the 4 points. Be clear, be compelling, be efficient, and have the structure of your piece that really makes it easy for the person to understand what you believe and why you think everybody should believe that. Okay, go at it.